This video is brought to you by CHEATCODE. Fear. Fear, as you all know, is that primal instinct we get when we see something that's threatening and dangerous. Or when your roommate decides to put a spooky white bedsheet on themselves. It's different for everyone. For me, it creeps its ugly head when a music label located in India decides to copyright one of my videos because I used the Persona 3 soundtrack. But fear can also mean, this. Sure. F.E.A.R originally dropped back in 2005 looking like that season's spooky video game, and I mean the marketing pushed so heavily on the horror aspect. Every trailer, every bit of concept art was about how spooky the game was. Even the box art heavily focuses on the ring girl. I mean the grudge girl. No, jokes aside, it's actually Elle from Death Note. Alma is the main antagonist in F.E.A.R, and this little girl, oh boy, she likes a big old scare. Ooh, so scary, Alma. What the fuck?
He deserved to die.
Alma will stalk the player relentlessly in some really odd role reversal Dr. Disrespect Night Terror. And she will turn anyone the player even remotely likes in the game into ragu.
There was a lot of anger in this room.
You think? But the horror aspect is only half the story here. In a game where you would expect the player to have to wear their brown pants, it's actually two games stitched together. See? It's right there. F.E.A.R is primarily actually a first-person shooter, and it's a pretty good one at that. Funny enough, for a horror game, most of your game time will look like this.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
So as a hybrid generic FPS title, stitched together with a walking horror sim, you would think F.E.A.R would lose some of its identity, but I was impressed the two mesh so well together. It's like having two ingredients that you really don't think will taste good together, combined into an absolutely fire meal. And it's one of the reasons why almost 20 years later, it is still celebrated as a great title and can go toe-to-toe with other games in its own niche like BioShock and Half-Life. Season on top some intelligent AI, especially for the time, with enemies actually using tactics in fights and the world being built around the AI limitations, really shows off how good this stuff can be. And though it isn't too intelligent to shout out your game plan in a fight, honestly, I don't think you should tell the person you're flanking that you're flanking them, but okay. It can lead to some good combat scenarios, and the lighting effects in F.E.A.R nowadays look a bit archaic, but back then it was so revolutionary for the time. All this stuff together really does add up to a solid title, and not one you would expect to be in the horror genre. It was so good, in fact, that there was actually 2 expansion titles released after the success of the base game F.E.A.R. Yes, actual titles, game used to have their extra content shipped on discs, as well as their updates. If you wanted an updated version of F.E.A.R, you were most likely going to have to buy another version of F.E.A.R. Man, just writing this makes me feel old. DLC was not really a thing back in 2005. Nowadays, you get your updates and expansions to games at a click of a button, and the world is better for it now. Trust me, unless you play Call of Duty. These expansions were handed off to Timegate Studios with Monolith's blessings. Monolith is the developer that made the original F.E.A.Rs and the sequels after that, and kind of took the story in a completely different direction that Monolith wanted to do, so they made them not canon. There's some weird stuff with timelines, I know, in a horror game. It's a bit weird, but though the expansions do carry on the story from the original F.E.A.R, it's technically not canon, which is a shame because these are good titles in their own right. Well, at least one. And that's when they fucking work. You have to have like a degree in computer science and hack the mainframe just to change the resolution on these classic titles. But does getting chased by a bite-sized goth through increasingly similar corridors, is it worth the hype? Or is it another title that's had its reputation blown way out of proportion by the fan base? Well, let's find out and take a look and see if F.E.A.R first encounter Assault Recon, boy does that title just slide right off the tongue, and see if it was really that good. Alright, so F.E.A.R opens up with Paxton Fettel being let out of what seems like a cell in a facility by our favourite little spooky girl Alma. after reacting in the opposite way a Minecraft Let's Player would react to a child walking into the room. Paxton then suddenly takes over a group of soldiers known as replicants. These are basically just soldiers with that pesky free will removed to make them easier to control. All these platoons need is one psychic leader to lead them. Now that doesn't sound too bad. I mean, you don't want a bunch of Mr. Sucks running around the front lines, do you?
Steon Story weighs in with, if you were in the Vietnam War, would you rather be a chopper gunner or a guy on the ground with a flamethrower?
Chopper gunner, although I've got to say there's something that just can't be replaced about being one of those poor sons of bitches down there with 2 tanks of kerosene strapped to your back, liquid fire pouring all over the VC, the man in the dark pajamas, formidable opponent indeed. Popping out of one of his spider holes soaked with rice patty, ain't no human in this world harder to ignite with your flame tosser than one that's been seeping himself neck deep in a rice patty wearing one of those little triangular hats.
But the caveat is that this will give one person sole power over this army. And obviously not everyone can do that because they need to have this psychic link. But more on that later. So Paxton escapes and grabs a quick bite to eat. Dude loves his meat raw. Bro, I'm more of a medium rare guy, but you do you, buddy. Now, it's never really explained why Paxton eats people. He just does. It's his thing. Don't hate on it. Anyway, with Paxton out and with a sole army being psychically controlled by him, that's where F.E.A.R comes into play. A task force that's primarily focused on the weird shit that goes on. Think Mystery Inc., but Shaggy has a semi-automatic shotgun. The player takes control of Point Man, a new recruit in the team, and my god is he tall. Jesus Christ. And the name isn't just a cool little title. We are the Point Man, and our boss will literally make us frontline every possible encounter. It's almost like he knows something that we don't. Anyway, he does bring up that our reflexes in the training program were pretty damn high, and that's mainly because Point Man has the ability to slow down time and react faster than most other people can. It's a very important gameplay mechanic. I played on moderate difficulty throughout all the base game and the expansions, and honestly, I don't know if you can manage this game without using the slow-mo. The AI is out for blood almost as much as Alma is. Anyway, we get debriefed and we track down Paxton to a water facility, and that's when the spoopy stuff starts happening. Alma takes out the entire squad we go in with almost instantly, and it's up to us and our max pain bullet time to make a dent into the replica's army. Now, I mentioned at the start that the AI and the lighting in this game is really good, especially for the time, but the gameplay has shown a bit of its age. It's still a blast to play, don't get me wrong. I mean, any game that gives you a bicycle kick honestly deserves an award. And slowing down time to throw a grenade just to shoot it mid-air never gets old. And the ragdolls, man. Oh, mwah. The ragdolls are so good. They are stupid, and it does feel like Gmod gravity gun shenanigans, but honestly, it is a great time. Not only should all games have ragdolls, but all games should have these ragdolls. Exploring the world can actually be pretty rewarding in F.E.A.R 2. Usually you'll find more sought after weapons or health packs and armor, but the main gems you'll find dumpster diving in this world will be your health and slow-mo upgrades. These can be a bit tricky to find, they're hidden quite well, but it is enough to make you check every nook and cranny. And more often than not, if it's not something that's going to help you in battle, it's something that's going to raise your blood pressure. Now that's the positives. Unfortunately, the gameplay loop is pretty obvious right from the gate, and it splits kind of into 3 sections. So we have the first section, which are the chill areas that just have you wandering around looking for your next objective, most likely used to find those pickups like I mentioned. The next section is the shootouts with the replicas. Now these are the meat of the game. They're really fun to do, and you can get some awesome gameplay from these sections. But usually once you clear an area, you move to the third section of F.E.A.R, and that is the spoopy horror walking sim. This is usually where Alma just decides to fuck with you. 9 times out of 10, once you do one of these sections, you know the next one's right around the corner. It's pretty bare bones, you can kind of call what's going to happen before it does. Especially with the horror sections, you tend to get this weird static just before the weird shit starts happening. Now, speaking of the weird shit, F.E.A.R does get a knock for its horror gameplay as being pretty bare bones, and yeah, sometimes I agree, it feels like the horror is phoning it in. But I have played the original F.E.A.R game several times in my lifetime, and I still got by some of these scares, and that's not a small victory for the game. For a horror game to give you slow-mo and a gun all the time, it feels like you constantly have a bit of a safety net. So the game has to try way harder and way more creatively to get you to spook. So I've got to give it, every time the game got me, I was quite impressed. During the chill sections, you can also get a bit of backstory fed to you throughout the game. And you kind of need this because if you don't find out the little tidbits of information, you have no idea what's going on in this plot. Unfortunately, the way this is delivered to you is through voicemail messages. This is dull to me. I have never liked this style of storytelling in any game, even my favorite game, BioShock. I feel like this sort of stuff should be done way more with the environment rather than someone leaving a voicemail. But it is what it is, and the game does try to creatively use this to give you a bit of a scare now and then too.
Man, this is not right. Yeah.
Ad time. Hey man, is everything alright in there? Having coffee withdrawals, I see? I've been there. I have this bad habit when it comes to drinking coffee. Without caffeine, I struggle to get even the most basic tasks done, and more often than not, lack the focus when it comes to gaming. And that's where CHEATCODE comes in. And no, not that kind of cheat code. CHEATCODE is a gaming supplement brand that not only offer a healthy alternative to other caffeine-based products on the market, but are specifically crafted for us gamers. Now, I've been drinking their green apple energized powder for a little bit now, and I can really say it's helped me focus and stay awake for those long game sessions, or when I'm deep in those editing minds like I have been making this video for you. I generally have been feeling way more better using this gaming supplement than I did when I was drinking 3 or 4 coffees a day. And CHEATCODE's Energized Gum is insanely convenient to pop during those mid-game breaks to help you lock in and bring home the win for your team. Their powder currently comes in 2 different flavors at the moment, green apple and blueberry, and the gum has a delicious watermelon flavor as well as a lemon and lime. If you're like me and have always been curious of these gaming supplements, there really has never been a better time to try them out. As if you go over to CHEATCODE and use the code TIE20 at checkout, you can get 20% off your first order. And trust me, you will not be disappointed. Using the code not only gives you a hefty discount on the order, but it also really helps out and supports the channel. So thank you in advance if you do use it. Be sure to check out the link on screen right now or head over to the description and click the link over there and order yours today. And remember to use that code TIE20 for 20% off. That's TIE20 for 20% off. Now back to the video. Anyway, after tracking down Paxton, he bonks us on the head and escapes to an office tower for the ATC. This is where the game basically becomes a chase between Pointman going after Paxton and Alma running right behind Pointman. And not much really gets progressed for a while. Now the game kind of boils down to just office shootout to office chill section to office spooky time, rinse and repeat. And like I mentioned, nuggets of the story does get dropped via these voicemails and laptops that you can find in the world. This kind of paints the picture for why the replicas were developed. They were made so that there would be more control on the soldiers on the front lines, and they needed someone with psychic abilities to lead them. The head scientist of the time, of course, doing the right thing, opts in his own daughter, Alma, because she seems to have some of these kinetic abilities. Good job, Harlan. I can see someone's taken parenting advice from Goku. Obviously, this little child's not too happy about this, and she acts up and kills one of the scientists with her abilities. Harlan Wade, being the world's best dad, comes up with an excellent idea to induce Alma into a coma and forcefully impregnate her at the age of 15 to have a child with her abilities by using his own genetic material. Oh my god. Dude, I thought I had daddy issues. Fuck, man. This is in the game. This guy forcefully made his daughter give him grandchildren? Children? I don't know how this works. At such a young age, just to have them lead a bunch of brain-dead soldiers. It's dark, man. F.E.A.R is dark. What I don't get is if Harlan couldn't control his own daughter with these abilities, why did he think her kids would be any easier? Regardless, it turns out it was, and one of her children she gave birth to was in fact Paxton F.E.A.R, the guy from the start of the game. This is why in hallucinations, Point Man keeps seeing a birthing room. This is Alma giving birth to her 2 children. Anyway, the experiment with the kids was going pretty alright up until Paxton's 10th birthday, when Alma decided to take control of him and kill a bunch more scientists. Daddy Dearest was not too best pleased with this and decided to lock her away into a vault, where they decided to turn off her life support. She died a few days later at the age of 26. He killed his own daughter just for this experiment. It's actually fucked. So what we're seeing throughout the game is the ghost or the vengeful spirit of Alma piggybacking off her psychic link with Paxton. That's why the closer we get to Paxton, the more Alma has authority. So even though Paxton is a bit fucked up, he's honestly getting used for revenge via Alma. That would sound like it sucks, but honestly Paxton's a bit of a mummy's boy, so he's okay with it. Now I keep mentioning children, not child. She actually had 2 sons with her father boyfriend. Oh my god. Unfortunately, the other child didn't seem to have the same sort of psychic abilities, but Leia did develop some insane reflexes. Almost like he could slow down time. Yeah, it's Point Man. That's why he's having the hallucinations and why he can see a lot of the stuff Alma is doing. He wasn't getting shown just Paxton's birth. He was getting shown his actual birthday. Congrats, bro. Now, admittedly, I've skipped ahead a little bit. This doesn't get confirmed until the end of the game, but I thought it was worth putting in here as we're tying in all the backstory stuff. And it does kind of explain why Alma has been chasing Point Man around the game like a lovesick dog. She's just maternal. It's so weird to imagine this little girl being this massive Chad's mother. Anyway, as we explore the office building, we meet a few workers, and fuck this fat guy. This Cartman ass looking ass. Dude, he's so annoying.
Oh, perfect. You again. See this button? I wonder what this does.
And I know that was the point. He's meant to be unlikable, and it does make seeing him get shot later on bring me so much joy. But my god, is he just disgusting to look at. To be fair, I feel like this is what I looked like in my teens. The soundtrack is pretty weird with him as well, so throughout the game has been pretty consistent. You have your bombastic themes for the gunfights and the pure, delicious atmospheric pieces for the horror sections. But sometimes it can get a little weird, and I don't know what the soundtrack was doing in this section. This must be the I'm lost in an office building theme. Where the fuck do I go? Anyway, going through the office building some more, we do meet a woman. Well, escorting her, we do get a pretty fun elevator section though.
Why are all the floors lighting up? Uh-oh. Somebody's pressing the call buttons. Here we go again. This sucks. They're gonna You don't have to kill everybody.
Once we get to the parking lot, she bolts to her car and heads off to a secret facility. This is where they're keeping Alma, and Point Man follows suit, killing honestly everyone along the way. You have the replicas that Paxton's controlling, but also the ATC security are trying to cover up this whole mess, so they're out for blood too. We just kill them all. Once at the secret facility, we do catch up with Paxton. And like those Japanese cartoons that I totally do not watch, we insert something pointy into our sibling. Now with Paxton gone, his hold on the replicas is broken and they just shut down. Now with that sorted, our new goal is to deal with the award for best father, as for some reason after all these years and all the shit he has done, he now decides to be remorseful and wants to let Alma out as he thinks this will calm her down. Dude had every possible opportunity to help this poor girl out while she was alive, and he just did not, right up until she was dead and at Boogie 2988 levels of unreasonable. This guy dooms the entire planet. He is honestly the worst dad. Anyway, he does succeed in letting Alma out, and she quickly turns him into a funny haha skeleton. Honestly, don't feel bad about this. So throughout the game so far, Alma has been shown as an evil character, and though she does do some awful things, you do feel bad for her. It wasn't exactly the most stable household to grow up in, you know? Now that Alma's out, she has taken the form of what she was like when she died. Legal. The now 26-year-old Alma walks out of the vault and we follow suit. With a bit of a twist though, we're not dealing with the replicants anymore. You see, with Alma out, the worlds are blending together. It's no longer just a hallucination, it's actually in the real world. These ghosts and specters are out there. Thankfully, they are deathly allergic to shotgun shells. We chase after her and narrowly avoid getting a hug from Alma. Girl, put some clothes on. And we exit the facility. Thanks to Point Man tickling a reactor on the way out, the entire city gets blown up. Oh shit. Well, I'm out of ideas. And just as we think it's hopeless, we are pulled to safety by our comrades who actually surprisingly survived this whole ordeal. And we're met with a chilling shot of Alma boarding the helicopter.
What was that sound?
Seriously, sis, can you cover up a little bit? And that's the end of F.E.A.R. We do get a post-credit scene of a call between the Senator and the ATC, stating that the situation is under control, what? And that the Point Man experiment was a success. So it seems like they knew all along who we were. The game is a little bit short. I completed it in 6 hours. It's not a long title, but it is really good. Honestly, it was a cracking title to jump back into. Me being a little bit older and not just a piss-soaked child anymore, this time around I was able to appreciate the game on a much higher level. Especially with the story, it was great to actually understand what the hell was going on this time around. But the canon story would not continue until F.E.A.R 2 Project Origins, which dropped in 2009. But we're not heading there. We're gonna head to an alternate timeline and check out Extraction Point and PERSEUS Mandate. That took the story in a different direction that Monolith wanted. Alright, so Extraction Point takes place straight after the base game, with Point Man, Jin and Douglas crashing the helicopter and heading for shelter at a nearby church. Nearby church? Why did I go Welsh? I'll take a second here to talk about how awkward it is to get the game running on modern hardware. Now, F.E.A.R base game needed to run in compatibility mode. It's nothing new for a classic title on modern PCs. I'm used to that. The expansions though are a whole nother story. You need a master's degree in computer science just to get the game running. And I'll break it down because I've got nothing better to do. First, yes, you need to run these expansions in compatibility mode too. The second obstacle is the games do not have standard resolution settings. So if you run anything 1080p and above, it just doesn't work and does not give you the option to do this. There are some long-winded fixes online that I read up on, where you have to change some file logs to sort this out. But the problem is if you do get this to work even once, you are not allowed to go into the game settings. Because if you do that, the game will automatically optimize, I said that in quote, your settings back to what they think they should be, which is wrong. I couldn't get this method to work and I got bored trying it after about 20 minutes. I even tried making the files read-only so the game couldn't change them back, and it did. It was an absolute nightmare. Thankfully, I found a better fix. If you just go into the boot options in Steam and put this in as the code with your native resolution, it will work. Huzzah, we did it. But we're not done yet, so even though we've got the resolution working, the frame rate is shitting the bed. For this fix, the only way I could sort this out was with a mod, which I'll include in the description. Apparently there's like a RAM leak with this game or something. I didn't really read up too much on why the game wouldn't run on my 3080, but yeah, I just wanted to find a fix, and this seemed to work. Back to the game, once we're in the church, we see a now resurrected Paxton going back to his old ways and taking control of the replicas, so they're back in play, and our brother is not too pleased with us. There seems to be a lot of that going on in the family.
You killed
didn't like that.
We dispatch his soldiers and we see Alma, who for some reason is still using her little girl mode. I tried looking into this. I generally don't understand why she keeps switching between her now legal age and her jailbait age. If you guys know in the comments, let me know. Maybe she just likes the red dress? Anyway, we quickly escape her, and Extraction Point is great because it's built as if it's the next chapter in the main base game. So you don't have any of that tension build up or the small scares progressively getting worse and worse as you play. This expansion goes hard right out the gate. And I mean, already the fact we're not in an office building is amazing. Unfortunately, Paxton kidnaps Jin, who somehow managed to Ultra Instinct dodge all the BS in the base game to just being instantly caught in enemy lines in the expansion. So I guess we gotta go save her now. And thus we go back to F.E.A.R's meta. Point Man chasing Paxton with Alma right behind him. Exploring a little bit further, Douglas gets a bad feeling about something.
Careful. I've got a bad feeling about this. Man, this is not right. I've got a bad feeling about this. Some of these people killed each other. I've got a bad feeling about this. I've got a bad feeling about this.
Though you have to hand it to him, he did call it.
Find Jin. I've got a bad feeling about this.
And we carry on after Paxton. Now towards the end, we actually start getting a little bit of help from Alma. She quickly deals with some replicas and helps us traverse some puzzles. It's really odd. It seems like Alma wants us to catch up with Paxton and possibly take him out. I think because he is now dead but kind of alive again, she has no hold over him. So he's a threat. And as you know, he's just not a very jolly man. He probably wants to eat her. It would not surprise me in this story. Now, it's not that Alma is good, because she's not. Did you see what she did to Douglas? But it is pretty cool having her on your side for a time, and seeing other people dealing with the bullshit we had to deal with back in the base game.
You're safe now.
We catch up to Jim, but unfortunately Paxton got a little peckish again, and she's dead. Now, the horror in the expansion is pretty damn good. These transitions from the IRL to Alma Land is technically called the Almaverse, but I like my name better, are absolutely mind-bending. And though some of the scares, again, can be a little bit meh, the creativity here is actually pretty solid. And even when they try some of the same tactics they did in the base game, they do put a spin on it to keep you at the edge of your seat. Anyway, after going wave after wave with these replicas, we catch up to Paxton, and just before we are able to get out of this city that's going to shit, he blows up our ride and tells us a war is coming. And that's the end of Extraction Point. Kind of just feels like we were lied to, didn't exactly get extracted at any point, but that's it. It's only a 3-hour expansion, and the story is very, very much on the diet side. There isn't really much going on other than I better catch up with my deadbeat brother, while watching all of my friends die along the way. But gameplay wise, it is just more of the fun from the base game. And I mean, this time they give you a heavy machine gun. This is the greatest horror game, I swear. The issue is, this expansion was $30 at launch, and for 3 hours of playtime, that is not great. Definitely something nowadays I would, I guess, pay a tenner for. But we're not done yet. Now we have to deal with this one. God damn it. PERSEUS Mandate is a rough expansion. First off, I had the exact same issues as I had with Extraction Point, just trying to get the game to run. It takes place during halfway through the F.E.A.R base game into Extraction Point, where you play as a new F.E.A.R squad with a new protagonist.
It looks like there's more to this armor camp situation than we thought.
Isn't there already a F.E.A.R team on the ground?
Yeah, there is. Maybe we should just go home. No, unfortunately we don't. And this new guy apparently has the exact same slow mode as Point Man. Wasn't that his whole stick with Alma's powers? It's really odd, and I assume they cloned him or something to make this character have the same abilities, but nothing really gets clarified, and it probably was just done for gameplay reasons. The story is not even in the back seat, it's just like in the fucking trunk at this point. It is so bare bones. We have a new big bad that just wants to get some of Paxton's DNA to try and repeat the project. We need to stop him, and we don't. The game itself also looks like a downgraded version of the base game. Why do these buildings look like ass? What? We've already well established that the base game can do relatively decent lighting and textures for the time. This looks like something I made in a Minecraft knockoff. Now, there's only really 2 points of this game that I really enjoyed. Number one is the underground section. This felt the most F.E.A.R-esque of the entire expansion. We're only here for one interval, but it was really great and brought a spooky factor back to the game with Alma messing with this guy. Again, for no reason, she should not be bothered by the character we play, especially because at this time in the base game, she was with Paxton and Point Man, but whatever, it's fun. The second reason to play this game is when you finally catch the douchebag that's been pulling the strings, we have to escort him to a secret facility, and Alma checks his privilege right then and there. I feel like this was supposed to be scary or intimidating, but I started creasing up. It was such a funny death. Dorothy really fucked the witch this time, didn't she? The final boss is nothing either. It was really not needed. It's just a beefy mob with a massive health bar and a grenade launcher. It sucks. If he tags you once with this thing, you are dead. I just ended up spamming every power weapon I could possibly find. Boss is dumb, game is dumb. It's kind of sad the most fun I had in this expansion was asserting my dominance on a corpse. Wait, I can't write that. It turns out, even though we were successful in defeating the bad guys and we got the DNA back, it still got delivered like it was going to anyway. So the expansion was completely irrelevant, and Monolith doubled down on that fact and made the entire story irrelevant to the base game. I would have honestly hated paying $30 for this back at launch. And though this expansion is hot garbage, the other one was actually a stellar campaign as well as the base being amazing. And luckily nowadays, you get the entire trilogy in a F.E.A.R bundle on Steam for a tenner. Super worth it. If you're going to play these games for the first time, you definitely should do it now. If you haven't ever played those games, which a lot of you seem to have not, I would absolutely highly recommend it. And though the franchise does kind of lose its way down the road, it was a great spooky game to play this Halloween. In a genre of endless horror walking sims, it's so refreshing to play a horror game, a true horror game, that isn't afraid to give the player a gun. And though the story can get a little ancestral with the son-brother stuff and daddy who's actually the daddy stuff, it is interesting to unwrap the story and dig a little bit deeper, if you want to. So yes, it was really that good, and it deserves the critical acclaim it has built over the many years. It is just a shame that most of those many years was just people trying to get these goddamn games to work on modern hardware. If you would like me to check out the other titles in the franchise, please let me know in the comment sections, maybe drop me a like while you're down there. Next up, we are trading our gothic baby in red for a man in red pajamas swinging around a city, so I'll see you in that video. But before we do that, a massive shout out to my patrons. You are the funny haha skeleton to this channel's fleshy suit jacket and tie. Thank you Pitstab, Ali Tato, and Chris Spicer. You guys go above and beyond supporting me and this trash bag channel. If you would like to also go that extra mile, be sure to sign up for the Patreon by clicking the icon on screen right now or heading down below to the description. Really hope I get this video out before the end of the spooky month and that you enjoyed it. But for now, that's me done. I'll see you in the next video. Tie out. Peace.